what do people want is usually freedom and power. And a lot of people think power is like a nasty, icky word, but power is the...
You want to be in control of your time, and you want to be able to
100%.
be where you want to be,
100%.
with who you want to be with. Like, money isn't like the target. Why is such a small percentage of people actually try to do something to become more free?
Most people not having money growing up, you think it's a scarce thing sometimes, even when you start earning good money. Well, not everybody, but definitely from a belief system, it's changed for me. I mean, if you can get to about 5, 10K a month, you're pretty sweet, and you're still in the top percentile. And so I guess I want people to also know that it's about freedom, and it's closer than you think.
There's no wonder people don't have money. Firstly, they don't know how to make it. Secondly, they don't know how to... Because it's never been easier to do something influential, but it's never been easier to do
That's so true.
Right.
People's mindset can change. Someone could really think there's no hope for them. But if they only knew how powerful human beings were, and that's one of the big things you need to, if you want to do anything, try it as best you can. What are the keys to making money?
So, like, we talk heavily about...
And here we are.
We're here, bro.
Wow, I can't believe we made this happen. This is something we just talked about at a high level. And lo and behold, I'm pretty sure if it wasn't for you, this probably wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So appreciate you. I had a lot of stuff going on, but this is a good setup.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And because of you, I think we've got this room as well. So hats off, mate.
Yeah,
hats off.
You don't ask, you don't get, and all that.
100%, mate. 100%. So Unchained Entrepreneur. So I thought the first thing to discuss would really be what that is, what we're about, and and how that's going to relate to the people that are going to watch and empower them to take moves to be, I guess, in a better place from an entrepreneurial perspective.
100%. I firstly have to apologise for waking up with frocking my throat sounding like Rod Stewart. But,
Yeah, it's manly, mate. It's manly. Mine's fine.
I'm just rusty. I'm just gonna go and become a performer in a minute. But I think the first thing that we should just talk about is like what it actually means to you. So, like, for me, Unchained Entrepreneur basically defines having the power and being able to work on your own terms wherever you want and almost pick your wage, because people are so tied to a location, whether that's a home or a job or a relationship or something, that they can't actually go and express what they want. So my question to you is like, what do you define like an unchained entrepreneur as?
I totally agree. I mean, obviously I want to get rich. There's no doubt about it. I've never really hidden that from anybody. But I think it's obviously what do people want is usually freedom and power. And a lot of people think power is like a nasty, icky word, but power is the sense of control. It doesn't necessarily have to be over other people, just power. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to be able to be influential, make moves, go on holiday when I want, and riches in the sense of freedom. So like I could get up and work when I want, or I can go on holiday when I want, or move around. And I think money is obviously a small part of that resource, but just having enough resources to navigate the world and get what you want is the goal. I think, like I said, riches is one of the most agreed resources out there, but just to get people to this stage whether they can support themselves, because a lot of people flex on Instagram and stuff like that, saying how many millions they made. I mean, if you can get to about 5, 10K a month, you're pretty sweet, and you're still in the top percentile. And so I guess I want people to also know that it's about freedom, and it's closer than you think. It doesn't have to be. I mean, obviously we want millions, but it doesn't have to be that straight away. You can have a pretty sweet life with a decent wage, and it's accessible. It's doable, especially here in the West.
Yeah, 100%. Because people are like gurus and stuff you see on social media, they like demonize money, but then they make you feel like it's the only reason you're doing this is for money, when I think that's a poor concept. I think
for sure
we don't do this for money. Money's a tool. That's all it is. It's a tool.
I agree.
And it's a dying tool. So like, you might as well use it while it's here.
Yeah,
kind of
sure.
thing. Because really the power is like time and location freedom. You want to be in control of your time, and you want to be able to be where you want to be,
100%.
with who you want to be with. Like, money isn't like the target.
It's the tool.
It's the tool that's going to get you to that.
Yeah.
And money's the root of all evil and all that. No, it's not. Like, bad people with money is evil.
Yeah,
good
totally.
people with money is good. So,
yeah, totally. I think that's one of the belief systems you've really got to smash. And it's still stuff that I suffer with not having money growing up. You think it's a scarce thing sometimes, even when you start earning good money. Well, not everybody, but definitely from a belief system, it's changed for me in the sense of like money is a wonderful thing that when I was young, I thought like rich people had it and rich people were just, ruthless, or they had to do something to get it. In actual fact, it's one of the best tools, like debt as well. We could cover another time, but I leverage debt all the time to get into a more favorable position, as long as it's useful and gets used, not buying Lamborghinis and stuff like that initially. So yeah, I mean, so that's my view on what that is. And yeah, I agree with you in terms of the freedom. Is that all for you? I mean, that's what unchained entrepreneurship is to you, isn't it? Just
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I am curious, like why? Because everyone's under the same thought. Like everyone goes to bed at night thinking of how they can be more free. So like, why does such a small percentage of people actually do it, and then the rest don't? Is it a lack of information, a lack of, like, I don't know, the environment, or people telling them they can't do it, or they don't know where to start? Like, why is such a small percentage of people actually try to do something to become more free?
Yeah, that's such a good one. I think like most people, I think it's a number of different things. Like some people have a worse journey than others, for sure. You grow up in a council estate, your journey's a lot harder than someone that was born into a family of entrepreneurs that have access to resources, capital, education. So like, that is something, but I don't think it's an excuse necessarily. Some people I've got to caveat this. You never know someone's background, and someone could really think there's no hope for them. But if they only knew how powerful human beings were and the sense of agency you have, especially in the world of YouTube where you can learn so many things for free. Yeah. I think one is belief system, for sure. They don't think they can do it, or they don't think that it's possible for them. Second, I think that's the main thing. But then again, I think it's also consumerism. I think we love buying things, anything that triggers that dopamine or that reward system in our brain, or gives us that satisfaction. We love doing that, and the marketing world is built around selling that to you, so much so that you become a consumer, and then you don't produce anything. It's easier to watch Netflix, isn't it, than start a business? And so they make it so easy for people to gorge and eat and watch Netflix, which we live amazing lives by having access to that, but then they don't go and produce.
Because it's never been easier to do something influential, but it's never been easier to do fuck all.
That's so true. Right. It's so true. It's never been easier to do something, but it's never been even easier to do nothing.
So I understand that. But it also goes back to that point of like the kids who have the same dad, but one takes one journey and one takes another. And they have the same reason, but one does something influential, one does nothing. Like, surely then it's a concept of mindset, no? If they both have the same condition, like Alex Hormozy talks about same condition, different behavior. Yeah. Like same condition, but change the way you act.
Yeah, interesting. It's a real rabbit hole with that, because it will be not mindset. It will be mindset, but perception of the event. So like, I want to use my brother as an example, but he's really empowered currently. But what used to be two events happen to us, and we perceive them differently. So let's say social events, the anxiety of wanting to fit in trumped my anxiety of getting in front of people. And I was quite social for that reason as well. Whereas Russell wasn't. So if we got presented with the same opportunity, we'd look at it very differently. So let's say trauma happened to us when we were younger. So like our father passed away, it affected us very differently. He actually was so traumatized he couldn't remember anything, and I was younger than him and I could. And so that's a real rabbit hole. Like, how do you know, like, how can you tell whether that was nature or nurture? But people's mindset can change, and the perception of events can change. I think it's so complex. I think if you can introduce someone to a different state of being. So for example, my brother and I are starting this product, and now he's seeing sales come in. And beforehand he was just like, well, why me? And now he's just like, oh my God, this could happen. He messaged me the other day saying, I want to double my income. And I was like, what? He never said that to me before. So you can see that belief system. You can see that belief system changing. And so I think you're right, it is mindset. I think your environment's a big part of that. And that's one of the big things you need to, if you want to do anything, try as best you can to find the environment that is going to be most lending to it. If you're around people, you know, your shitty family or you've got like people in the house that bully you and stuff like that, it's hard to get out of when you're trapped when you're young. Yeah. But as soon as you can, go and find people that you want to be like, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Like, we can't always choose our environment, which I appreciate. But the older you get and like the more freedom of choice you have, you you certainly can. And going down the pub, drinking yourself into a coma, regretting everything the next day, putting gear up your nose on a credit card, and like all of these bad things, like these are all like chain reactions into an environment that you don't want to be in. So
and usually outlets for an otherwise mundane life, it's a way to let go and, you know, enjoy that little part of life when you go back to your usual 9 to 5, or you're not happy in your life, and so you need that kind of
well, it's like dopamine hit, and you're trying to escape something. Most people go out on a Friday night and they're buzzing for it from like Tuesday. So like they've built up such like a need for it that when it comes on a Friday, they go crazy. Yeah,
for sure.
And you talk about like consumerism earlier. There's no wonder people don't have money. Firstly, they don't know how to make it. Secondly, they don't know how to keep it.
Yeah.
Because...
And it's hard to keep it, like, for anyone in the audience as well. Like, I don't know about you, but definitely for me, even earning a lot of money, it's still hard to keep. Because you have this conditioning in you to spend money and to be a consumer, and then you rationalise it and stuff like that. So, like, just especially because this podcast, I wanted to empower people as well. It's just like, it's fine. That's a part of life, and we have similar biological mechanisms. It's whether you can take control of it and just keep as much as you can as well. It's a journey for sure. But you're totally right. Like people don't know how to make money and then don't know how to keep it, and that's two very separate things. I made a decent amount of money and then I could not keep it, and that's been a journey for me to even build up a certain amount of income that now I can feel like I can calm down. So it's an interesting point. So like keeping money secondary, making money then, because obviously we want this actionable for audiences as well. What are the keys to making money? I guess I know this sounds like a broad question, but let's dive into the Unchained Entrepreneur vibe. Yeah. So what do you reckon is the keys to producing money?
So like we talk heavily about rich dad, poor dad, and like the four corners, and you can either be an employee, self-employed, business owner, or an investor. Yeah. I think people really dramatize it and go, I have to be one or the other. Like, no, I think being a selection of three is a good thing. I don't demonize jobs. Like, jobs have their purpose, but people work so much harder on their job than they do on their side hustle or their business or their investments or even their family sometimes. And if you put that into like a broad term, you're working harder on someone else's business than you are your own. Yeah. So,
but that comes alongside risk. So like, so investor obviously is when you've got money.
Yeah.
And so employee to business owner, and then you're in the business working on it. So then you're not completely free and stuff like that and breaking off of that. So that does take money, and it will take risk, especially if you have things like a family. Yeah. Or you have a mortgage and stuff like that, which I know a lot of listeners will. And so it's some of the keys to making money from the off. I think it's like, how much time do you have? How much money do you have? And how much skill? Yeah. And we'll talk about networking in a minute because it's one of the most important things. Yeah. Is how you're going to create value from the off. So if you've got no money and you have your evenings, which most people do, by the way, like I say, I have no time, caning 3 hours on Assassin's Creed a night. And I don't know if you've got kids, yes, fine, but an hour a day. And I guarantee most people watch Netflix, if not something else. Then YouTube is free, and you learn. I think the most important thing is learn a high income skill. Yeah. So if you don't know where to start, I would go on YouTube, market. If you don't know what the idea is, marketing. Learn how to sell stuff to people. Yeah, and the psychology behind it, it is probably a skill if you don't know. But I would say high value skill. So for example, for me, and now I'm trying to leverage other people, my initial income to 5K a month was like just getting really good at shooting and editing, and then advertising psychology. So I would edit for some YouTubers, and that gave me money because I was so good, but it's because I spent my time studying it. And I think that's the most important thing. First of all, go and get a high income skill. And that could be, I know, copywriting could be dying with AI, but you need to understand the principles, marketing, video editing, videography, whatever that is, Facebook ads. Those are quite important. Or like you said, trading. Trading's a good skill that you can learn for free. And
I think trading is like, rather than a job, like per se, I think trading is more of like an investment tool.
It is, but you have to learn the skill. And so like 100% it's a long-term investment for sure. Yeah. And we can go into funded accounts and stuff, which you can do it earlier, which has the risk of leverage on both sides. But that is a high income skill, because once you learn how to trade, even if you don't use your own money, you could work as a trader, or you can start leveraging your own money to make money. But it is a high income skill.
Yeah,
once you
yeah,
learn it,
100%, yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Because once you're good at that, people will just throw money at you to go and make money for them because they don't understand it.
And it can't be taken away. Like the art of selling or the art of trading or the art of marketing or the art of all of these, you can do them anywhere and people can't take them away. Like having a job is all right, but that can be taken away at any point.
Yeah.
Remember that. So unless you're highly valued, like I always go, like I love football and I'm like obsessed with it, if you can say that. But think about managers or players, like if they're not valuable enough, they're getting replaced like that.
That's a good point you touched on. As you continue, but I'm going to unpack that in a minute.
So
That's a good point.
unless you are highly valued in an environment or in a place, you're going to be replaced at some point.
Yeah.
So unless you're becoming more valuable, you're becoming less valuable.
Totally.
So
totally.
Pick an area. And I worked in professional football and it was literally like week 1, I realized I ain't going to be here forever and I need to do something else, which is where I turned to business straight away. And everyone goes, oh, but where do you start? How do you start? I'm not qualified, don't know anything, don't know. You're only going to get better at just doing
like
it.
study and be valuable. And just like, and I know like there's a motivation thing for like listeners and stuff like that as well. It's like, I can't remember who the quote was. It's just like, being poor is hard, being rich is hard, pick your hard. And so like, there's a
million people said that.
Yeah. And I think also you need to control your dopamine levels and calm down the amount of stuff that gives you quick hits because then you'll reset your baseline.
Yeah.
It's like eating your diet. If you start eating less sugar, you'll taste more sugar in things. I think you have to kind of reset your baseline in terms of your dopamine intake. And secondly, like I said, it's choose your hard. And a lot of people come up with the objection. It's just like, well, I don't know what I love, and I don't know if I'm of value at all.
Yeah.
Finding what you love, I am a big proponent of it. You don't have to, but you do stick to stuff. But and the thing is, like even in the e-commerce game, I run a snowboard brand. Do you know what I mean? Like you can pick things you love. There may be a bit of dirty laundry to learn, but so picking something you love is super. I think it's super important because you're more likely to stick to it. But generally, like being more valuable, I think is the main point. Like people are just like, oh, well, I don't know how valuable I can be. Everybody has value, and if you study, you'll just be more and more valuable. There's a times where I've been an absolute asshole and I haven't been kicked off stuff because I've been good at stuff, and that's not a way to be. But like that's where you want to aim. You want to be the most valuable person you can, because that's what it is. It goes back to tribal mentality.
If I can make a point on that, so like people get so caught up in having to be like a jack of all trades and a master of none in their own like being. So for instance, you got to pick what you're good at and kind of go crazy with that thing, because like we're going to touch on networking and stuff and like network marketing, which I'm in and I love. Like in network marketing, there's many fields and there's many like some people are really good at the product side, which is like trading and crypto and this, that and the other. They're really good at that. Go and do that. Some people are really good at talking and selling and like, go do that. Like, that's your part. And then other people are really good at not really the product, not really talking, but actually they're kind of deemed as weird because they're really good at like the background stuff, like running a Discord or like all of that kind of stuff. Cool, go do that.
Yeah.
So what my point is, like, find what you're actually really good at.
Yeah.
And go with that.
That's a good point.
Because if you're trying to become valuable in everything, you might be 10% valuable in 10 things.
Yeah.
That's not going to pay dividends.
Well, it depends. So I think if you have a team, yeah, for sure. And I think like about on your networking point, you should try and find people straight away.
Yeah.
And then you're going to leverage people's strengths and weaknesses. I have found that being a generalist with a specialism is really powerful. Yeah. So I know a little bit about everything in terms of like, I know a little bit about...
competent.
But I mean to a competent level. I mean, I agree with you. You have to dive in and have a specialism. So for example, my editing is way better than videography, for sure. But I know a little bit. I think it's because I had started from scratch by myself. I learned how to build a web page by myself. I learned how coding worked by myself and stuff like that. And so then I grew a specialism. And what happens is I can generally problem solve everything. Yeah. I think everybody needs to learn a few things and then specialize and double down on a few things, or if not one. Cool. Because even the coding, this coding from 7 years ago that I did for shits and giggles has paid dividends because I was looking at some code the other day and I'm just like, oh yeah, I understand how this works. And so I can problem solve really quickly. And I think it just generally teaches you it. But I do like, if you're going to pick a lane, just like hyper focus on a specialism for sure. Like hyper focus on a specialism, I think, and then you're that valuable arm of someone else's team, and I think that's super important.
And you'll be kind of the go-to person as well. When you bring so much value in a certain area, if people are struggling with that thing that certain period of time, they will look to you because they know you're the high value person.
Yeah, it comes to strength. Like, so I'm quite valuable in a lot of areas. I know this sounds like a brag, but one, you shouldn't self-deprecate anyway. I think you should pick up yourself for sure, without being an asshole. And that comes with a lot of cool things. I can do a lot of things. Like I could put a website up and advertise it by myself within a few days. So that really helps. Unfortunately, I shoulder a lot of stuff as well. And then you'll feel like sometimes there's a skills imbalance between you and other people, because I've got ADHD, which means that I don't like doing the stuff I don't, but I obsessed with the things that I do. So my video editing is so good because I'm in it all the time. But then I don't understand why someone else wouldn't have that skill, which is a bad thing, but because obviously like the reason I am good at it because I hyper obsess. The valuable in a number of areas allows me to do a lot of cool stuff. It just comes along the downside that sometimes you'll feel like the work's imbalanced, which is partially, my fault. And then you struggle to let go of things. But I mean, if we're getting to our first 5-10K a month, what do we reckon is the best way of doing that? Like, because networking is important, but like high value skill, focus on one thing then, you think?
Yeah, we digressed a little bit, but
just to clarify, so people get and have a summary of like, well, what do I do next?
How to make money? Become more valuable,
and give value. Give value is super important, because people don't like giving it because they feel like something's been taken away.
Yeah, and that might be in a job, but I would say like start a side. I don't really like the term side hustle because it makes it seem like it's like inferior.
Yeah.
But it should be the opposite. That should be superior to your job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because that will pay you dividends.
Yep.
5 to 10K now, maybe not, but you'll surpass 5-10K if you give something enough time and enough energy.
That's a good point. Like, really enjoy the study and get a kick out of how good it makes you and how empowered you are, because even Alex already said you're going to trudge through some mud a little bit. I'm paraphrasing and really badly. You are going to trudge through some mud, and there's a gap between your action and the result. And especially when you start out, is you'll do a lot of this stuff and you won't see a result for ages, and then the result of those actions will then appear later on. So there's this little chasm between skill set and result when you start out, and so you have to just enjoy the process of doing it and learn to love the process of just getting better. Because to me, I feel like every time I learn something new, I feel like, I'm more powerful.
You're paid in 90 days for actions you take today.
Yes, or even a year.
Or it could even be longer. On average, it's about 90 days.
Yeah.
So
cool. So that's the point. Yeah, exactly. Just keep staying the path, I think.
Yeah.
So if high value skill, for sure, and be valuable to the tribe, because that's tribal mentality. If you're a contributor, then you'll become part of that tribe. Well, there's more evolutionary stuff, but we're not going to go into it. So the second thing is network. So it's so important to build a network of like-minded people, and people. I read a quote in, I can't remember where it was, but it's basically make yourself known to the people that matters your plans. And I think that's a really powerful quote. So not only getting around people networking wise because everybody collaborating is more powerful, because it's just like having a football team, isn't it? It's just like, also getting in front of the people that matters your plans. So I got in front of people that mattered to my plans in terms of my good friend Camille Setar and Carl Weischer. I got myself in front of that guy because he mattered to my overall, not master plan, but overall life dreams. Do you know? So networking with other people first then. What do you think is the best way of getting in front of people?
I think swallowing that ego of asking for someone else's help, or even just sending someone a message and asking something, just trying to connect with the people, but then also don't be a dick. You never know what back you need to scratch at some point, or bridge you need to walk over at some point. If you're forever being a knob and burning bridges with people because they, I don't know, say you are say you asked somebody, do you mind I don't know, doing this podcast with me? It'll only take 15 minutes, don't want too much of your time. And he goes, no, I'm too busy, I can't do it. Does that leave you with a sour taste in your mouth towards that person, and you start going slagging him off or whatever?
Yeah.
But at some point, if you give enough value, and then you can be like, hey man, I know we couldn't catch that podcast before, but I've looked at all of your stuff, I've actually edited this for you. here's it for free.
Yeah.
You've now given that guy something.
Yeah, I
And then he's probably more inclined to do something for you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you do the opposite, I just think you're burning bridges all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's what most people miss is they always think, what can they get out of someone?
Yeah.
And so, especially for me, you'll have a lot of people asking you stuff. It's like, oh, can I just? And the best way to think of it, and it's counterintuitive for humans, is to give value up front. Give whatever you can. Like, it's like, here, I've heard this, I've edited this for you, which is what you said, like a video, or let me take you for dinner, or whatever it is. Because value up front is super important.
Yeah.
I don't think enough people do it. And yeah, I just think that's what you need to do. If you're from scratch, then whatever you can give to other people, like I said, be the most valuable person you can be, and then just dish that out. And then, no, I'm a show off. I show off my work to everybody. We did this earlier. And people might think that's up my own arse. However, people see it. And so I'm just like, make stuff, share it with people. And then like, for Susanna downstairs, like I will connect her with, I don't have the time to work for her, but I'll always help her out and always connect her. Not even for anything back, but that will go somewhere. Yeah. Like it just will naturally, just like just being that. What I want to touch on, which is super important, because I think you said about canning your ego, you're very good at outreach.
Well,
me, I'm a more under the radar, like I'll come in, I'll do something for you, and then whereas you're just like, you're very direct. Where does that come from? And do you ever suffer social anxiety with it? And if so, how do you overcome it? So first of all, like, where does that come from? Because you're very good at that.
Yeah, you asked me this a few weeks ago. I did think heavily about it. I don't really know where it came from. It might have come from football, because you're in a high testosterone place.
Okay, yeah.
And like, I don't know. I don't really know where it come from, but I don't.
Even more reason to network.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, and just talking to people. Actually, that's probably a good point. So like, I did have a bad experience. So when I first started out in studying, I worked at Ebbsfleet Football Club as an intern, and it was horrific because I didn't look how I look now. I was like 95 kilos, overweight, depressed, so much anxiety.
Wow.
And when I was there, I was just like hoping and praying people don't talk to me. But I was there for a purpose. I had to go there and do like hours of like physio, like sports therapy. And it was a horrible experience for me. And I couldn't wait to leave. And then when I finally did leave, and then I went traveling and stuff, I came back and I started my master's. And I said to myself, I need to get another internship, but I'm not allowing what happened last time to happen again. So I lost all the weight, dropped all the weight, got really fit, and then got my job at Gillingham. So then when I went in, I completely flipped it on its head and went from a anxious, fat, whatever at my first run to like super outgoing, like I'm initiating conversation, I'm doing this, I'm doing that.
But where did that come from? Did you get a newfound confidence from losing the weight and sharpening up, or like because if you had the anxiety first, I'm just trying to uncover like what point was it? Or there's no single point. Everything kind of like there's no specific cause to what an effect is all the time. But is there anything that you can pinpoint that made that change for you, that you were just like, now I'm more sociable, now I push harder? Was it losing the weight and feeling more confident inside, or like what was it?
I think confidence starts from within.
Yeah.
And then, so confidence is just competence unconscious, which it basically means like if you can just be unconsciously competent at something, you will be confident when it comes to doing that.
Yeah.
So if I had 30 conversations with professional athletes and they went really well, like, and people reacted well to me, I've now got a confidence level that I can talk to these guys.
Yeah, I think that's a part of it. I'd say one side of the coin, but there could be more than two. I think competence makes you way more confident for sure, and that will come with repetition and practice and that.
But then also how I looked, like I really looked in the mirror and thought, I can't stand who I look like.
Yeah, and so that is a big thing. Self-esteem.
It was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I think the other side of another side of confidence is trust.
Yeah.
So, you know that story about showing up for yourself. So if you and I agreed to meet up and I stood you up and you're like, oh, okay, that's just a one-off. And I kept doing it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. If I said the 6th time, I was like, yeah, I'll meet you there at 8 o'clock. You're like, oh, I don't trust you.
First time being, second time shy.
Yeah. And so it's the same thing. You draw an account internally with yourself. And it's okay to drop the ball, but you draw an account internally with yourself. Do you do what you say you're going to do? And confidence can come in trust. So even if I'm not good at something, I'll be like, well, I know that if I put my mind to it, which I'm likely going to, I'll do it. Or I know I'm going to show up. And so confidence comes from, I think confidence also comes from that kind of thing where you're like, well, I trust myself, or I do what I say I'm going to do to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
You have to come with, that has to come with letting yourself off the hook when you don't, but not in the fact that you get lazy, that you're like, okay, let yourself off the hook, go again. So that's another part of confidence, but I'm not sure if that was a part of it, but I think you're right. Repetition, exposure therapy all day long, looking better. So it's another good reason to get fit and healthy. I think a lot of my confidence comes from being healthy as well. I know that because if I don't hit the gym, like if it's 3 days in a row, I'm just like, I'm really hard on myself for it.
Yeah.
So I do think it does come from that as well. Yeah, just interesting. I thought for the audiences, because some people, I'm just trying to cover objections.
Yeah.
Sales, by the way. Just trying to cover objections in terms of what people say, because it's very like people are very excuse machines, aren't they?
So it goes back to that point. Like I would say, I love sales, and I work in sales now and stuff. I kind of categorize it in, if I don't know you, and I want to get to know you, or I want to take you for a coffee, or I want to take you for dinner, whatever it is. If I don't ask you, nothing happens.
Yeah.
And if I do ask you and you say no, that is the same outcome as if I didn't do it.
Yeah, I love how you look at that like that.
But
because
if you
it's very
said
easy
yes,
to get, because rejection kills a lot of people internally, and it's perceptual for sure.
But who
and
gives a crap?
there's evolutionary benefits to not being ostracized or outcast from the tribe. But I love that you're the way that you are with that, because nowadays those kind of things don't necessarily mean you get ostracized from a tribe. Like the rejection doesn't seem to affect you as much, because like you said, the outcome is the same anyway, even if they say no. And I love that quality. I think
it's almost worse if you don't ask, because you have that fear of the unknown. Like, what if I did ask?
Yeah.
Or actually or you wasted time, because it might be I don't ask, and then I actually meet you 2 years later and you do what I was going to ask you 2 years ago straight away. But now we've lost 2 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas if I just get from A to B really quickly, all right, cool, no worries. Did it with that guy, the coaching guy. I just asked you, can you reach out to him? And it took like 2 days to get an answer.
Yeah, and I was more hesitant to do that. I think a part of it was obviously, if I refer, then obviously my reputation's on the line. So I wanted to find out what it was about. But yeah, mine was, if I obsess over connecting with someone, I'll do it. Yeah. Like, there's nothing that stops me from doing it if I set my mind to it. But there'll be things sometimes when I get in touch with people, and I will literally say to myself, probably won't happen. I'm just like, what? Such a dumb way of thinking, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, such a dumb
but you're
way of
right.
thinking.
If you say, this will happen.
Because it won't happen, yeah.
Or you say
100%.
this won't happen, you're right. Yeah. Because
I've always
another rebel.
I'm social. I know how to come in soft, and I know how to come in and give value and stuff. And usually I'll just let my skill set do the talking. And it works really well. It works really well. Sometimes it'd be nice for me to reach out to more people, not really worrying about the outcome, whether it'll go anywhere. Because like you said, you shut off something before it's even begun if you don't get in touch with people. So it's such a valuable thing, a valuable thing to have. I think I'll just caveat that you have to be as valuable as you can. So if you're going to outreach to someone, so like for the coaching thing, we'd be like, what does he care about? And what can I do for him that's going to just like, he's just going to be like, oh my God, this is just ridiculous. How do I? Because reciprocity is a real thing. Like you do something for someone that's actually valuable to them, then they'll owe you a favour, or they feel like they do. So for example, let's take the coaches thing. It'd be interesting to find out really what he cares about. And the thing is, it's hard when you don't know someone, but if it's just something like, your job was hard because you had to go through someone else to get to him. But if you could turn around and say, like, instead of like, who's managing your marketing, that'd be like that's about me conversation. Yeah. If you turn around and said like, I've grown X amount of followers over the last X amount of days, and I've seen your count, I reckon I could get you to 200K probably within about 3 months. For example, like I'm just trying to give a crude example, then here's a prick up because it's about them. Yeah. And so stuff like that as well. I think you have to have that conviction, but then you come in guns are blazing at what value you can give to them and try and find out what they're about and what they like and stuff. Very hard when it's cold outreach because you don't know them. Yeah. But that's super important as well. So be valuable. So just to cover them, we've got high income skill, which by the way, YouTube is free. YouTube University. I learned all of my Photoshop on there, and a lot of advertising and video editing. It's never been easier to upskill for sure. Get around the right people as well. Like people love connecting with people with shared interests. Yeah. Facts. Like in actual fact, it's lonely if you don't. When I was an entrepreneur, I mean, I didn't know anybody that was an entrepreneur. It was way more lonely. So if anything, it's good for your mental health. And getting around the people that matter to your plans, and then obviously being as valuable as you can to those people and to yourself. Like I said, showing up and having confidence by trust and, like you said, repetition. So those are really powerful things, like the network and skill set. Like that is the main focus. And then I think it's time. You know what I mean? It's persistence. You've got to carry on just chipping away at it. Like I wanted to be a millionaire 5 years ago. Yeah, and I'm still not a millionaire, and I am still going to be. Yeah. But I've reached a point where I have a 7-figure business and I can look after myself and stuff. But I'm still on that journey. I had a conversation with my missus, and she's so supportive, by the way. It was just one tiny conversation to make an example. And she said something about, she came back and she's like, well, I'm not where I want to be yet, and this kind of thing. And I was like, you reckon I am? Yeah. I'm 5 years down the line yet, and I've got I've got a 7-figure business, but I don't pay myself 7 figures a year. Yeah. And but you know what? I'll keep going until I do, and I'm just going to keep chipping at it. Like the time horizon, some people just get put off if you don't achieve everything in the first month or year and stuff like that, especially with this culture around all this attention grabbing from things like TikTok and social media and instant gratification, because you can go to co-op and get your food quickly. There's this culture where, like, if it's not working straight away, I'm going to give up. Yeah.
It's interesting as well. You talk about goals and stuff there. I think this will be like one of the last points here, but don't forget, you're in the exact same place you wished for a long time ago. So if you're not happy now and you wished for this, the likelihood is when you reach the next goal, you're not going to be happy there either.
Yep.
You're going to be going on to the next thing, then the next thing, then the next thing. So if you don't enjoy what you're doing right now, get into that point, and then you get there and you're still not happy.
Yeah, that's a lesson hard learned, enjoying the journey, for sure. For sure. And also just be like the money thing to at that point, because a lot of people, like, money is a stickler. When you've got no money, you've got hardly any risk anyway, because you can lose it. And no one can take away your skill set. And obviously if something happens to you, like an illness and stuff, which you can't help, which is just unfortunate. But people still make the most out of certain illnesses. Yeah, you can lose money, and it's okay. If you've got your skill set, you can start again. I think the skill set network is a massive investment. I don't see why people don't treat it the same as they see money, because it is my network is the most valuable thing I have, and my skill set is the most valuable thing I have.
Yeah.
So I mean that's so important, I think. Just to add to that point, yeah, I think that's it. For me, where do we go next with this? I guess so. I think
we've touched on so many points there. I think we can go down rabbit holes on all of them.
For sure. I think the main goal is to obviously be as valuable as possible to the audience in terms of, again, it's Unchained Entrepreneur. I want people to have, because we both didn't come from rich backgrounds, and we're both in positions where we run businesses and we're successful. By my standard, I'm successful. And so I want other people to believe that it's possible for them, because it is, totally. And then give them the tools to get there, and invite some inspirational people on that have got there, that they can share their knowledge as well. I think that's a big thing, I think, for the podcast. So we'll have some good names on here. I've got a few names in the pipeline, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
For me, like I said, we summarised in terms of getting high income skill and networking, and then getting yourself in front of people, etc., etc. I think I want to leave on a belief note as well, just to let people know in the audience that most people sit in a pool of the same kind of IQ. You've got outliers, you've got super geniuses like Elon Musk, and then you've got super, I don't know if I could put that in the podcast, but like super people that just have low IQs. But most people sit in this bell curve, yeah? They sit in roughly in the middle, where they've got the same potential and capacity. So first of all, I'd say most people can do anything if they put their mind to it, especially in a world where people are sleeping awake and not following their dreams. So if you think you can't do it, or it's not for you, like, you're wrong. You can. Yeah. You can do it. So believe on that side of things. Money isn't real. Like it is, but it isn't. It's an idea.
That's a massive rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's an idea, and the way you look at something you said about perception, the way you look at something dictates what it is. And if you look at money, even the world with evil or negativity, you'll get that, because your brain is paying attention to what you, so even subconsciously, allow it. Yeah. So if you see the world as painful, you're going to see pain, because that's what you're going to see. Your attention's so selective because it lets in what you think is important. Mm-hmm. So try to cultivate a positive mindset. See, like I think Einstein said, like, you can choose to live in a hostile or a friendly universe. And it basically, like, whatever you choose to look at, you'll get. And that's so true. And we struggle with that, but still, I will set my mind up strong for the day for that reason. So you can do it. Money's not that elusive. It's not evil. It's a great tool. And the way you look at the world is super important. And consume good content. You are what you eat. You are.
Agree more, bro.
Cool. Nice. First one. In the bag, mate. In the bag. Woo!
I hope my phone didn't switch off.
Yeah, same. I'm still going.